Here. This will be our last week on C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce. We were kind of coming close to finishing the book last week, and we weren't leaving any time for any kind of closing remarks and things like that. So that's kind of what today is for, kind of a closing out of the book and kind of what we thought, how it's changed us, like what we didn't like, those things like that. I think this book is one that has really adjusted something. It hasn't so much adjusted something, but it has compounded something that's already inside of it. And one of the things that really adjusted me back in time was in the Lord's Prayer when it says, "Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And because before that really hit me, the faith to me was always this thing. It's like, oh, well, I do it so that I can go to the good place at the end. And the problem is that narrative right there, I'm probably opening up a can here, like that's not in the Bible. That's not scriptural. Like that's not what it's about. What it's about is, Father, we want here to look like that. Like that's your will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. So we are doing, we as Christians and as just in people, we are living as heaven here. And that's really what this book is talking about. Because it's using all this heaven and hell, like the gray town and the bright place, the what?
Hard place.
The hard place, yeah. That it's using all these metaphors, but it really brings us back to, I think it says at the end that it was a choice. Let's see, how does he put it? They were like, this conversation between the spirits and the ghosts, were they only the mimicry of choices that had really been made long ago? Like he's kind of talking about like, oh, was this stuff that, so this isn't just about, heaven, hell, and purgatory. Like these are ways that we live now, where we live in the full forgiveness and all of that. So what are things that stood out that you loved about this book? Like that's what do you think?
There's a lot of focus on free will.
Free will? Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, people had the choices as they went along in all these different journeys. However they acted, they could change their mind. And
Okay, yeah.
I like, how free, I'll just stay with that. And
Yeah.
you change your mind as to where you wanted to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. It's in tagging on to that, one of the things that really struck out to me is everything that everyone struggled here. It was all good stuff, but they had taken it too far, like the mother's love for a son, the artist wanting to paint, like that's all good stuff, but they had made it into these kind of ultimate ends. We got someone joining us. All right. Here. I don't have a keyboard, by the way. Hi, Elaine. We've started, and I missed you there for a little bit.
Morning.
Good morning. So it takes these things that are good things, like that's like studying and that stuff. That's all good stuff, but it takes it too far. And I think we saw that in the end of the chapter. Oh man, where it was talking about, I'm not going to be able to find it, but talking about how, all these loves of different things, be it religion, country, all this, like listed all these things that we can take that love and devotion of it too far, and it becomes these ultimate things. So, yeah.
I told you on Sunday too, I think it's very character driven.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more of the focus than anything of, here's, if you act like this is a problem. If you act like this could be a problem for you. I mean, everything that you could imagine.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
The love and the joy and getting.
Okay. Yeah, I like that it's character driven as well. Like it's these people that we're seeing, and we can see ourselves. It's like a mirror. Yeah. All right. What else?
What I did not like was the fact that he made it look like it was so difficult to get into heaven that people didn't want to go there.
Oh, interesting. Can you elaborate more on that?
What were the hurdles?
It was hard. The grass was hard. They couldn't walk on it. They had to get to the mountain, but they couldn't
Oh,
get
I see
there.
what you're saying. So you're talking about like
The physical
the
part of it.
physicalness, that it was so much more real than they were, and there was some overcoming that they were going to have to do
Yeah.
as they got
That's the point.
as they got more physical. Yeah.
Whatever you think.
Yeah.
You have a right to your own opinion.
I didn't realize this was going to descend into politics.
So
Your point's valid, though, but also remember how easy the Greytown was. Everything you ever wanted, you got. So when you're looking at this and you're saying, I got to work for that, I can have this. So I think you're right. It makes it seem like getting to heaven is the hard challenge.
There's a price of admission for heaven. And it's a difficult price to pay for virtually all of the ghosts.
Yeah, but suppose on Earth, before you went to the Greytown, before you passed, you were not like one of these people. And you picked up this book and you're reading it and you say, oh my gosh, it's going to be really a mess. Hard to get into. Grass is going to cut my feet.
Is your concern that it will turn away people from aspiring?
Not me, but I mean, it may others. I don't know.
okay.
It may others.
They frighten them. They worried about whether they can or can't.
This is a thoughtful book.
Oh, yeah. Very.
And
I understand all the different characteristics of the characters, and why they wound up where they wound up in purgatory or hell or whatever you want to call it.
again, I don't wish to pick nits, but
Go ahead.
I find it difficult that a person who has completed reading this book, really read the book, is going to be discouraged by the costs of heaven.
So explain what you're like. That's get off of his argument, and like what were some things that you?
First of all, the good news, to quote you every Sunday, is despite despair, darkness, defeat, ugliness, every day the bus runs, all the time. It's always available. And we go through a number of narratives, and the bus is always there. All you have to do is get on. And 9 out of 10 of these hapless ghosts decline for lots of reasons. Another thing that struck me, because I have an empty life, when I was reading this, I was reminded of Dickens. And I thought about Dickens, and then I thought about, years ago, there's a book kids we read called Pilgrim's Progress. And then I thought about Alice in Wonderland. What do all of these things have in common? They are all dreams. They're all dreams that provide the dreamer an opportunity to see and to understand. And when they awaken, to make the choice. Now, again, the dream is transient, it's gone, but the choices remain real for everybody when you wake up. They're still there. Again, at the risk of descending into rabbit holes, this is a recurrent story which I first learned in the Bible, and that is Eden, downfall, redemption. And that's what this book is about. That's what Pilgrim's Progress was about. That's what Alice was about. It was beauty, Eden, human frailty, and then redemption. But in each case, and Scrooge starts off in Greytown. He lives a life of bleakness and despair and selfishness and disdain. And it's cold and it's snowing and it's dark. And by the end of the story, the sun is shining and he's reclaimed himself and he's reclaimed God. Again, it's just a really neat motif.
And to compound on that, I think there's some it's a parable and it's hard to use. I think he's trying to deal with the end of John 3, where it says that let's see here. This is the verdict, that light has come into the world, but man loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. Whoever loves the truth comes by the light so that in it it may be seen plainly that what he has done has been done through God.
I made note of precisely that the Great Divorce, George MacDonald's Happy Fantasy, they are Jesus-like parables. And, it makes available the opportunity to examine yourself. That's what I think the purpose of the parable was, to look at yourself, look at your heart, and how do I compare with the story that Jesus just told me? The other thing that struck me, without hogging your time, is the personal experiences of Lewis. Lewis sort of lived the story. He starts off like he loses his mother. Where does he wind up? Like Scrooge, he winds up in a boarding home, a boarding school.
That's right.
He comes of age, and he's in the First World War. Hell, he's injured. He comes out, and where is he? He's struggling through life again. He's going from one place to another. Then along comes the Second World War, and he's once again living in the dark town, bombed out London, despair. And he still has not yet found Christ. It's interesting. The book came out in 1946.
He was, what, 50 years old by then?
Right. And that was the end of the Second World War. It was the beginning of perhaps seeing hope, a possibility. And I'll just say one more thing, then I'll shut up. Dante's Inferno, another story going through the various places in hell. The sign on the door is, "All ye who enter here, abandon all hope." You have to do something. And what do you have to do in heaven? Here you have to do something very similar. In C.S. Lewis, you have to abandon everything. all of your aspirations, all of your conceits, all of your hopes, as it were, your ghostly hopes, in order to gain admission into this really neat place.
Yes.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, and to connect to that, it's presented as this place, the Great Town or Gates of Hell or something like that, is a place that's locked from the inside, and that's we have this very kind of notion of like heaven and hell, and that's one thing I love about this story is that it's like, oh, we're trying to keep everyone out. There's those gates around it. Everyone wants in, but they didn't say the magic words. They weren't a good LCMS Lutheran, so they're not going to be in there, right? There's something, like that. All those things, and it's this thing that's like, to quote the John passage again, like the darkness is if you don't love that the light exposes. You have no love of confession, then you have no love of realizing that you need forgiveness. Like that's that whole thing, and then all of that stuff. You'd rather hold on to things of darkness than rather let the light expose them for what they are and be truly free of them. And you kind of get to see who you really are in that. That's something that is really, and it sits with me. It sits with me so strongly right now, and that's kind of why I say, "Thy will be done." And I've said this multiple times, but I think in the great heavenly abode, whatever, the kingdom of God, like, why would someone stay there if they could not be there with someone? Like, how could that person be forgiven? And would we not maybe remove ourselves then?
I don't understand what you mean.
So, like, let's say we have been holding a grudge our entire lives.
And you find that person that you've been holding the grudge
Yeah.
against.
Yeah.
The murderer in here.
Yeah, the murderer in there. Like, that's and that's something that has sat with me, and it's just been like, oh, like that means I need to be a forgiving person here. That the forgiveness of Jesus, this Christian thing isn't just about me and Jesus, which is how it's sold now. It's this relationship between you and Jesus, but it's this much more communal thing where it's like, yeah, we live with all of these people. Like, I get very worried when people start getting very adamant about their groups, and start talking down to other groups of people and things like that. It's like, oh, they are less. They don't deserve to be anywhere near us and stuff like that. And it's like that's a rough sentiment. That's a rough sentiment, like that's how deep is that sentiment within you? Is that going to, that sentiment sounds not like Christ. It sounds like Antichrist.
To your point about the murderer or someone who finds someone that they disdain in life, that's the two-pronged sin that we're talking about. One is the self-reference, that by my standards, this guy doesn't belong here. Forgetting that you don't write the rules. It's not your standards. There's someone else who does that. And all of these people, to a man and to a woman, they all lack self-awareness. They really don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And that sadly leads them to become self-referential and ultimately not making it into the mountainous area.
Well, and what you're saying in that moment is one of my favorite things to say is, if they can't take it from you, they can't take it from you. And what that means to me is, so many people want to have control over us. Like, like a mother with a child, with the guy with the actor attached to him, like that. It's so many people want to have control of other people, and the way that you're controllable or something like that is that you have something to lose. Think about like the mob. They control you by, we can give you something to lose. But we see with Jesus, like he's like, take it all. It goes all the way to the cross. And you see like near the end of the book, you have these people that, like, he was like, I couldn't tell if they were clothed or not. Like this just brightness and splendor, and it's these people who had given away everything, but they had gained everything at the same time. Like to this moment, and it was this, and it pushed back. Let's see, what did this summary say? Oh yeah, refusal to be blackmailed by misery. Like that's that the bright people couldn't be brought down by the misery of the gray place. The gray place just wanted to expand into the glories of heaven and make them as miserable as they were, right? Like that's, and my best example of this, and I've said this before, and I'll probably end up saying it again, I probably shouldn't say it on a recorded line, but that's all right. But it's, my friend Mark's church is this way. Like they when he got there, they're a pretty unhealthy congregation. And they've really gotten healthy, and now they're acting like healthy organisms. They are not abiding by the people who are miserable, in their ways. And it's not just my buddy Mark that's now, appeasing them and all that stuff. He's like having to slow the congregation down. It's like, hey, these people still deserve grace and respect, like that's, but they have, a healthy organization will push aside the stuff that is unhealthy. And that's kind of what I see here, is that these glorious kind of beings, that it's like, you can't bring hell into here. What are you trying to do? I don't know. Like that's, what do you think? You seem like you want to say something.
No, I don't really want to say it.
You don't want to say it.
I was thinking, the other thing that stood out to me was that everyone that he encounters in heaven, in the hard place, everyone he encounters there is encouraging. If they're not judging him. They're not saying you'll never make it. You did this wrong. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
They're encouraging, and they're encouraging everyone they encounter, so that even the person who was holding the grudge against the murderer was encouraged.
Yes.
Let it go. And I think that's also kind of, to me, the other side of the coin. It's the way you would expect Christ to have lived, based on what we taught. So it's the message to us as well. I like that message as much as I like the message.
Yeah. Because that's a good observation about them being encouraging, and that it's all there.
I know her.
Yeah. Like,
Somebody familiar.
what else stood out to people in this?
You said something about people talking down to another group of people, and then you said is antichrist.
Yeah.
So as a Christian, we know it's part of the human being, talking down to other people, to others. So as Christian, what we should do when we see that pop up on our heart, what we should do to prevent that spread out, to prevent talking down to about others.
What should we do to help prevent that?
Yes.
I don't know. Would anyone have any thoughts?
Just to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what he's right the awareness of who you are and what you've done.
Mhm.
And the book is pointing out to these people, and I think the recognition that we're doing it is the beginning of confessing, turning from it, is to know, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing here? But, what do I know? I'm just a simple being. I screw up, so.
Yeah, we can all see parts of ourselves in each of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's brilliant about this book.
So, we take from that and say, well, I've got to be better at whatever.
Yeah.
And that involves what you're saying too. If I grew up where everybody told me that people who have gray hair and are green in the face are bad. Every person I see that has gray hair and a green face is bad.
Yeah, that's the first thing that pop up in your mind.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
So now I've got to say, all right, I have a neighbor down the street who looks like that. So I go down there and I introduce myself and I find out if they are bad or if they're good.
Did you start by telling them they were bad?
Yeah.
Why are you bad? No. I mean, I had a situation with a gentleman in my neighborhood. And he had a really good reason for his feelings. He was from Jamaica, and we're sitting on his front porch talking. And he said, when I was a little boy, he said, I went down to the dock, and the cruise ship came in. He said, these white people, boy, gotta watch out for them, because they're not like us. And people came off the ship. He said, and one white gentleman walked over to him and smiled at him and handed him a dollar bill. He said, I love white people.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, all it takes is a simple move sometimes. If anybody wants to give me $1, it's all right. But it's acceptance of everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's funny, I was in Big Brothers for a while, and I had my little brother who was 8 or 9, I think. I don't remember now. He was in elementary school somewhere, not near graduating. But his father had been arrested in jail, and his mother had divorced him, and so she now had him and a little girl who was younger. So I became Big Brother to this kid, and he had been told his entire life that he was stupid. Literally, it's all his father kept telling him was he's stupid. So every time he did anything and it didn't work, he would get mad at himself for being stupid. And you could be playing catch with him in the backyard, and if he missed the ball, I'm just stupid. And I saw that in this with the the character, but several of the characters actually are this way. They've been told all their lives what to do, how to do it, where to stand, and they don't understand that they're much better than that. And that's also a message. We're all better if we want to. I don't know that I said that real well, but
And that's what I like about the solid nature of the creation, because I really I love that part, because I don't know, like I grew up with this really spiritual sense of the faith, is that we were putting aside all of the physical things, then you were getting closer to God and all that stuff. And that's the faith that was really handed to me. And when I talk to a lot of people, that's really what I hear. And just the tangible nature of, no, actually, when you are, kind of what Club Air just talked about when we're talking about other people, but when we use the people around us, we're actually dehumanizing, those we're making we're making the world into ghosts, and this place that's not solid, and so I love the hyper real nature of it, that they walk out and they're scared of something as benign as a blade of grass. They're scared. Yeah, it's painful.
Picking a flower.
Yeah, or picking a flower that they
So
don't have.
why were they that way?
What?
Why did he write it so that the blade of grass was so sharp, or the flower was going to cut his hand, or the water droplets were going to?
Go through them like bullets.
Why did he write
Yeah,
that?
Like I like that. It really enlivens my imagination because it's so real, and it's that initial traveling towards the mountains is, yeah, it has some pain in it, but those worries that if the rain came down on you, it would be bullets. Those are worries by the ghosts, but they're unfounded. Does that make sense? Like they're worries, but they're not. None of these
Because it never
characters.
rained? If they're unfounded because it never rained?
Well, like that's in here. That's never exposed as an issue. Like that. Those were internal monologues of their, and the solid people are like, come, like it's going to get easier. It's going to get easier, and that's, I see this all the time too. You get someone that comes in and they're like just new in the faith, and what always happens to new in the faith is like you get just really into it. That just doesn't always happen. But, that's generally like you get into it, and then there's like a pullback, and then in that pullback, then the growth really begins to mature. So it's almost like, these people from the gray town, it's like they just sort of wanted to run across the grass, but they weren't there yet, and you see that the faith is this thing where it's like, okay, it's not about I got it now, it's this moving in and moving towards the mountains. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but it doesn't have to. I'm probably doing
It
a
made
bad.
more sense than what I said.
Yeah, does it? Does it? No, did it? I don't know.
Well, isn't that like in the Bible where it says you have to have the milk of the word, before you have the meat of the word?
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
have to, and grow into it,
Mhm.
like a baby grows up. They don't get everything right away.
And also, so we were talking about how the solid people had no, they couldn't be blackmailed by the misery. They can't, they don't have any time for that. But notice they have all the time for the incorrectness of the ghosts. It's not a measure of just making sure that they are 100% on it correctly. They're basically like, come and see, come on, you'll get it, come on, just start walking this way, just start walking away, go away from this stuff, because that's the fastest way to kill a church is to demand strict adherence in everything, and just be punishing everyone for what they're doing, because basically then, like if I'm doing that, I have made myself into God. Yeah, I'm like, I'm declaring who's right and wrong.
And we all know that you're just one step down from that.
It's like it's half step. Like that's and so that, but I was talking to talk about some LCMS politics here for a second. So my friend Dan Ross, he's basically asking me, he's like, have you heard about this? Because he goes, I keep on hearing rumors of a coming split. Basically guys who want open communion and women's ordination. Not sure how true it is or how many would actually follow. But it's just kind of sad if it's true. And my answer to him was like, you'll never find answers in division like that. That's when you're looking for the one true one in the faith, you'll eventually find it because you'll be the only one that's true in the faith. Like and so we have, we're
What you're saying is the same in the book, though. The division is separating people. They're the ones who are willing to stay together, and yeah, it's going to be hard, but we'll get there. And then there's the ones who say, oh no, I got to sort of that regret.
Yeah, the great town, I can live any way I want to. Like but in the heavenly realms, I have to forgive. I have to live with other people. But that's fun. I was watching a video last night about what was the funny name for it? It was an experiment done about drug abuse in the 70s, I think, the late 60s and 70s.
Oh, yes.
But Rat City, I think that's what it's called.
I watched the soccer match.
You watched the soccer match? Yeah, like that was I should have been. I kind of forgot that it was on. Like that. That's
It was the next James.
okay, good. And but and they haven't been able to conclusively prove this, but they said that rats who were addicted to morphine, when it was when they were in just a cage by themselves, they would drink they wouldn't drink anything else. They would keep drinking the morphine till they died. But when they put them in a community, a big thing with like lots of food and other rats and all that stuff, they often would get themselves off of the morphine and are going after the water. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And basically this person was promoting, like, we maybe have been looking at drug addiction not as well as we could have been. It's not that is there things that we could do to solve it with the community and things rather than further isolating these people. And I think that's that drug of the great town, is that you get to hit that dopamine button, of like, I get whatever I want,
Yeah, but they're all lonely. They keep moving farther and farther and farther.
Yeah. Because that's what seems, gosh, I mean, that guy Dan Ross that I was just talking to, he's a pastor in Mustang, Oklahoma. I've been trying to get him to Redeemer Stewart for years, and he won't leave Oklahoma, which I think is a mental illness, but that's all right. like that, that's...
You are so understanding.
Yeah.
That was a Hallmark.
Yeah, it's a Hallmark moment there. Yeah. But no, he's an incredible guy, and he I lost my train of thought making a joke, and but just this one thing he's really been concerned about is there is a form of an online person is what we're talking about, and what we've discovered is that these people, because of how our social media and engagement works, they're able to proselytize their own loneliness. And so you see this if you're on Facebook and you spend any time on like any of the Port St. Lucie groups, like SLC Scanner or Port St. Lucie Talks, where it's like you find out some stuff on it. But there's often people, like someone will go, we're thinking about moving into Port St. Lucie, and the first 50 comments Our people are like, it sucks. Like, it's terrible. Like, there's too much traffic. Leave. You'll never be anywhere around here. And you look, and all these people are responding within like 3 minutes of that original post. And which means that that's all they're doing. You know? And so,
But their goal is to keep the traffic down, so they don't want those more cars coming. They're discouraging people so they don't see the population growth, because they want to leave it the way it is.
that's the good way of looking at what they want.
If you have one car in your family.
Yeah.
But
What they want is they have a perceived memory of the past, and they're trying to get there. The problem is that memory never existed, and they're just looking back at it with rose-colored glasses, and they're lonely and all that, and they can get people engaged and angry with them online, and they're able to deteriorate the whole conversation. And there's this, and what he's been working on is he's trying to engage in the online world, because he goes, these people are lonely and alone, and they feel like we have people inside of our church body that say vile, nasty stuff. Like and it's this chronically alone, and they're promoting all this stuff like all these standards in women and like male masculinity, all this stuff that is just anti anything good that we understand. You know, and they're trying to bring that in, and they're trying to take over things. And they're trying to proselytize their own.
So they're trying to bring the gray town in.
Yeah, and that's, and I say that, and if you notice why we do stuff at the church here, this is me being totally propaganda right now. Like, we try to promote community stuff, and it's for that reason. Because it's so easy to get discouraged by something and to drive yourself into loneliness, and you then begin to believe the sauce. It's like, oh, well, me, my way is the right way, you know? And
Well, that's because you're never wrong.
I'm not. And that's what ends up happening. And so we try to provide all these things for people to get together. Could it be better? Yeah, it could be, but you know.
But that's one of the things that people talk about this church when they come, is that it's very open, it's very community oriented, it's very welcoming. I don't mean that in the sense of every church says, oh, we're a very welcoming church. But, you know, very few of them actually are as welcoming. You're greeted here. You're talking to everybody. It's not just a guy with the badge that says greeter. I think that comes across.
badges. I hate those badges.
Yeah, badges? Yeah.
We had a church that had these, they were called navigators. Help you navigate your way. And they had these navigators. The four people who were navigators stood in the corner and talked among themselves about the people that were here today. They didn't do it. My point, though, is we're not that way, and I think that's a culture that is created to try and be part of the community. And Alzheimer's care, we didn't do this, but we did it because the community needed it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that make this church unique. I don't know how that relates to C.S. Lewis' book, however, but I think it's a good thing.
Well, I think it relates to it because of the gray. The reason why I talked about the reason why we do the community is that there are people that are actively struggling, and they find people who are so dogmatically miserable that they're so dogmatically gray town that their lives, maybe because they can't get a girlfriend, or they can't, they're having a hard time holding down a job or something like that. they find these dogmatically miserable people, and they're like, man, that guy may have some weird views on stuff, but man, he truly believes it. And they go, and it's like a drug for that. And this is kind of what I'm taking. And I think this is what C.S. Lewis, because like remember he wrote this coming out of World War II, and what led into World War II is a time that's not too dissimilar from our own at the moment, you know, and so because they were having people, this chronic loneliness stuff was going on during then too, and it was, and so he's probably seeping with this stuff. He's like, man, you would think that getting everything that you want is actually what causes light, but it just causes darkness. It's like Scrooge. I think it's been. I love how we're in this theme of this year, right? Where like my favorite thing from Christmas Carol was when Scrooge, his house was so big that when he was walking up the lights, his candle, the light didn't even reach the walls. You know, so like it was so big that it he just lived in Greytown. It was just he had created so much for himself that all he lived in is in darkness. And because that light is what reflects off of surfaces, you know? And so, I don't know. This book really, I really enjoy it in the way it talks about all of this, and it just encourages us. It's like, no. Walk with that friend. You know, walk with them. Like that. That's like continue going forward. So I don't know. I've been talking. I don't know if any of it's made any sense.
One last comment that I'll make, and then I'll shut up for a minute. The other thing about the difference between the Hard Place and Greytown, the people in Hard Place, I already said, were encouraging, but more than just being encouraging, they were discouraging, meaning that when the people came and were struggling with whatever, they encountered you encounter the murderer, or you find out that the murderer is there, they're not allowing this person to sit in it. They accept it, that's how you feel, but they also encourage you to let it go. The same with the little lizard, you know, it needs to go, and then it becomes straight Steve. But all of those things, they didn't say, oh no, you should never think that way, as much as they said, yeah, but don't you see that this is what it's doing to you? And allow you, they sit with you in that place and say, can you see it? Ask you to look at it, rather than telling you you're wrong.
Yeah.
Although there's places where they actually say, no, you're wrong about that.
Yeah. And they do.
They're the unicorns.
Yeah, and the unicorns. I don't know, what other last kind of thoughts did you have on the book? Like how has it changed your thoughts on the nature of things? Or how has it reinforced your thoughts?
Can't say anything else.
Well, I mean, like you can be a liar, it's okay. Not in this room.
It is yet another reminder that this Christianity thing ain't a walk in the park. It ain't easy. You gotta work. It's you know.
That's for sure.
It requires one to do something most profound, most difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. That's a heavy lift.
Yeah. Now, I think there's a yes and to that. I think the lizard is a great example. Because doesn't he eventually kill the lizard? Is that the?
Yeah.
And like, and it is almost instant that the lizard becomes this like great steed, you know, this great horse, and it's sudden that person becomes solid and they just run into the mountains as fast as they can. And I think that's some of like what your original issue you were talking about, where it kind of looks but like they were able to let go,
To refine, I'm talking about Mick
Yeah,
50 years ago,
yeah.
non-Christian.
I'm talking Mick 6 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
I know, but I'm.
You know, I can hear both of them.
Yeah,
A non-Christian reading,
yeah,
not,
yeah,
not someone sitting at these tables.
yeah. No, I get that. And that's why I also think like the lizard becoming that horse, and they just like it's this transformation where it's like, oh, there it is. There it is. And it's this beautiful thing. So yeah, like
And
it's,
if you're a Southern Baptist, it's when you say, I'm saved.
I'm saved. Yeah, that's right. The Club Air grew up Baptist. He was saved. Yeah.
Baptists, they make too much recommendation for you to be saved.
Yeah.
They don't really see the goodness of the gospel.
Mm.
They only.
Well, that depends upon the Baptist.
Yeah.
No, I was a Baptist.
Okay.
Oh yeah, glory was
Only.
Sorry.
And that pastor gave me the love for the Bible
Yeah.
and studying it.
Yeah.
That he was a wonderful teacher, a
Yeah.
wonderful Christian.
Yeah.
This was Northern Baptist.
I was
Maybe
gonna say
there's
you were-
different
Yeah,
things. I don't know.
You were American Baptist Convention.
Yeah.
We're not
Well,
Southern
no,
Baptist.
and I think it varies. Like that's
Yeah. When they preach most of laws instead of gospel. But what I like from Lutherans, we have both, plus we add another one which is love. So we preach the law, we preach the gospel, plus we preach the love one another. So with those three, we will go so far.
So in violating my rule, the first time I read this book, years ago, I looked and I thought Greytown was this, where we are today. It was the life we live because, and I'll explain a little bit. People here are always seeking more. They always want more, it seems like. And there are people who aren't, but there are people who are constantly looking for more, and the world expects you to do more. And they expect each generation to do more and do better and keep going. And it's driving people away from God. So when I looked at it, the difference being Greytown was today, this world we live in,
Yeah, I can see that.
not something that was later. The second time I read the book, I read it
Joneses.
differently.
Wow.
The third time I read it this time.
Yeah, I think it's.
My kids do better than me.
That's what we were taught. You know?
I think it's the Great Town and the Heavenly Realms. I think it's a parable for us today, and that I talked about people that are like just online and lonely. That they're in the Great Town, and we have people for whatever reason that are in the Great Town, even in our community here. Like that's sometimes we may find ourselves more there than others. And I think, and I see this book just dripping with the Lord's Prayer that, forgive us our sins just as we've forgiven others. Like your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. All these things, it just is just dripping with it and with just realness to it. And so what I think our encouragement here is like to live with forgiveness, to live with forgiveness and in our world, for the forgiveness for the guy who mows his lawn at 9:00 at night, forgiveness for the guys that can't use his self-checkout. Like that's forgiveness for the people that have hurt us. and forgiveness so that we can live together. Like that's, and because when we do that, we then have, it's, your will be done. Your will be done. And I think then we can go forward. And that's kind of what this book means to me.
And I think that's good news.
And I think that's good news. Yeah. So, all right. So that's good. We'll end right there. And then, so thanks again for going through this book. Do we have any prayer requests for today?